Hi, I'm Jen DeTracey, and this is episode number 8 of My Messy House. MS is raw and real. Hello to all of you MSers out there. I want to welcome you if you are just tuning in to this episode for the first time. Feel free to press that subscribe button, like, share, and comment. I invite that because we are better together, right? Now, I live with heaps of fatigue, as I call it, and that is the one area of my life that seems to be consistent in the MS spectrum of things. So the benefit, I guess, of having the consistency in life is that there is some level of predictability. I've talked about this a little bit in the peripheral with other episodes. When we talk about my messy house, we're talking about the messiness up here, the challenges that we face, the thoughts that we have that take us down and out and through our lives. And really, this series is about taming that messy house, because all human beings have a messy house. It doesn't matter if they live with MS or not, another autoimmune disease, fatigue, depression, a combination of many things, right? It's all there. But it's helpful to look at what is consistent in your life in terms of what I call a layer of MS symptoms that you might have. And as I've mentioned, for me, it's fatigue. And so when it's consistent, I can have some way to some level of predictability around it, right? I know that if I have a day that is going to be full on, like we're talking like a whole day with no nap, no laying down, that number one, I'm probably going to be pretty grumpy. Actually, that's pretty true. Unless I've eaten a lot of chocolate or caffeine, which is something that I try not to do because it doesn't really support my system too much. But I'm going to be a grumpy bear. That's the predictability I have. So I know that about myself. So I'm aware of that messiness. And just having that awareness is a fabulous starting place. Also, the predictability of when I push myself really hard, I'm going to have a rough day. The next day, I'm going to be pretty dragged out. I'm going to have limitations. That mean be a day where I'm going to, in advance, plan that it's going to be a lower key day. Now, sometimes that can't happen. I work part-time and I do most of my work remotely over something called Zoom. So I don't have to, use energy to go out the door and meet with someone. I really manage that energy. And that's part of the knowing that I have fatigue every day, that I have shaped my life in a way that I can still work, which I know isn't the case for all of you. And truthfully, it would be, in some ways, it'd probably be better if I didn't work in terms of my self-care. It's a tough choice to make. I know it's a tough choice when I was in MS support groups, such a tough choice for people to make, whether to work or not, or to reduce work. But for me, I know that my house, my messy house, would be super messy if I didn't work. It's just who I am, and I feel driven to do that. So I'd rather experience more fatigue and manage that fatigue than I would to not, because I know that I would experience depression. I would experience a lot of things that I choose not to go there with as much as possible. And so when I'm serving others, my background is as a marketing strategist working with small businesses. So when I'm serving others, that brings me energy. It brings me joy. It doesn't mean I don't want to collapse afterwards. And I definitely build that nap into it. So, I'm just encouraging you to consider looking at areas of your life where there are, or one area, just start with one area of predictability in your life. It's not, you might not think of it as positive productivity or predictability, I should say. but it is in my mind's eye because that's something that I can plan around, right? And when we have something we can plan around, if we know, then it works really well. I have I have other friends that have autoimmune challenges, and one of my dearest friends, I love her so much. It's funny because she'll push herself, and maybe in the back of her mind that she knows the next day is going to be messy, but she's always often surprised, how messy she feels the next day. And it's like, well, how long have you been, how long have you been living with this? But that's the humanness, right? The part of us that doesn't want to believe that we're going to be experiencing a certain attribute of ourselves that we don't enjoy over and over and over again, right? So, with that sometimes can come denial. So in my mind's eye, I think about in the messy house world of taming that messy house, choosing to be aware and alert and cognizant of the fatigue and the impact of me pushing myself or doing something enjoyable and knowing that I'm going to suffer the next day, and be okay about that, because I'm living my life, and that's what's most important. Share your thoughts and comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and subscribe if that's what you'd like to do. Thank you for joining me today. It's an honor and a privilege to be here for this episode of My Messy House, because MS is real and raw. I'm Jen DeTracey. See you again soon.